Hello, my fellow individuals! I am Mr. Mini Mask Man here, and today I'm going to review Season 7, Episode 6 of The Walking Dead. Now, obviously, if you have not seen the episode, then please do not watch this video until you do so. Alright, so this episode was, I'm just gonna say right now, this was definitely not, this wasn't part of the comic books at all. Like, nothing to do with the comics. But I think I heard something, there was a hint or something that people mentioned that this, which I'll explain later in the video, about this group, another probably Oceanside, the group Oceanside, what they mentioned snippets of it throughout the comics, about these groups of fishermen, where they live by the sea, you know, but I don't know, besides that, yeah, nothing to do, so, alright, I had to think about it before I reviewed this after I watched the episode. Because originally, when I finished watching it, it's definitely not my favorite of the season so far. Yeah, so far it's not the favorite of the season. But I gave it time to think, you know, to overanalyze before I make my rash judgment and decision. And when I thought about it more, I was like saying, it's not the worst. Still not my preferred favorite. I think it was kind of barely okay. It was okay, but it was an interesting episode just because of one or two things that I thought of here when I watched it. So obviously it just shows us where the hell Tara and Heath were this whole time. So I think we barely remember from last season, they're on a scavenging hunt for 2 weeks, I think. And that's where they left off, and neither Heath nor Tara know what happened in Alexandria with Negan and the Saviors after the aftermath of what they did on their first outpost. So, it just kind of shows back to where they were, basically. It's just an episode like, oh, this is where they were. And then obviously something happened where they got attacked. Heath and Tara got separated, and then Tara kind of wakes up somewhere with this new community. Which is the main thing that I'm getting here. This new community was not mentioned anywhere at all in the comics, or wasn't mentioned during Negan's arc or the All Out War story arc in the Walking Dead. But, like I said, I've read some things from people afterwards about saying that these are probably the people from this other small group that's barely been touched in the comics, call it, I think, the Oceanside. I think I'm saying it correctly. Now, I don't know what they're going to do in the show with this one, because overall, okay, basically this group, just to summarize it, well, if you've already seen the episode, you already know what I'm going to say here, but they're basically like these survivors that ran away from Negan, from the Saviors, and all the guys, they're probably their relatives, their brothers, fathers, husbands, boyfriends, sons, whatever, all got killed in the aftermath, and they were the only survivors, and they started to become more independent. They learned more how to shoot, they know how to fight, and it's just a whole group of women in this area, which is close by the sea, which is where they get their fish and all that stuff. So they have their own thing going, pretty much, this little smaller community here. But the important thing is that they had the artillery, which is exactly what Rick and the gang need now, since they don't have really much. So the only thing they're planning is Rosita to tell Eugene to make the bullets, which is where Eugene's shining moment comes in throughout this whole part of the arc. It's where he actually provides and makes bullets for later on during the future All Out War that's going to come up. Now, originally, this whole episode was just focusing on this small community, and where Tara's situation is and what she's been through and all that, or observing this new community. And then she just, at the end, she just kind of left them, finally go back to Alexandria, and then she knows everything, the whole truth of what happened, especially with Denise and Glenn and Abraham, everything. So she's been devastated. And Rosita was asking her, hey, do you know any place where they might have artilleries or guns? Because we will need it soon. And she said no, because she got promised to, what's that one girl, was it Lindsay? Or Sydney? Or Cindy? Forgot the name. Sorry. But yeah, so this community basically, they're survivors from the Saviors. They're hiding at this community as a secret. where no one knows where they are, well, except Terra right now. So immediately when they get strangers, they kill immediately because they don't want anybody, they don't want to take a chance to being caught by the Saviors. Or else, they'll be under Negan's rule again or killed, one or the other. So, obviously this, I think it was, I want to say it's Cindy is her name. But the one girl that was helping Terrell throughout this whole episode, she spared her life 2 or 3 times now. And gave her a chance, and they started explaining to her, to Terra, where Terra's like saying, no, you can join us. We're a good community in Alexandria. Because she thinks they got rid of the Saviors, but that other community, they already know. It's like saying, no, your people are probably dead, or most of your people are dead by now. Just because you pissed off Negan and just took out just one of his posts. And that's what Terra didn't know, so... until, like I said, at the very end of this episode where she got the reality check. But yeah. Now... it was definitely a really slow episode. I mean, there is slow episodes on this show, obviously, but this one just really felt dragged out. It didn't really... you know what, like, when I first time watched it, and immediately when I finished, I immediately thought it was not really a waste of an episode, but I didn't think it was, like, anything important to the story. If this episode was cut out and then Terra just say, I just came from here and now I'm here, then the story would have continued on. But the more I thought about it, the more I noticed that maybe 2 things could happen. The purpose was just the introduction to this group, and so now we know where Terra was and how she ended up. Now she's back in Alexandria. That's taken care of. The Heath situation, I don't know where Heath went. Either this is going to happen. Either not because there's only 2 episodes left for the mid-season finale until the second half in February, usually. So either on the second half of the season we're going to get a Heath episode, basically showing, this is where Heath is, and then we get flashbacks of Heath, more of his story, more of his character, because we don't know that much about Heath. Not a lot of people they don't even remember him. I almost forgot him, to be honest, but... he's barely been shown, so he hasn't been developed. So I'm pretty sure, I think Heath is going to have his episode. Probably in the second half of the season. I don't think they're not going to do it for the last 2 episodes. Personally, I don't think so. So I think he's going to have his own episode on the second half of the season, and we're going to have a Heath episode to learn more about him, etc., etc. You know how it is, so... I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to show what happened to him, how he got out of there, and where he is now, and what's he going to do. So obviously he's going to join in the fight and for the all-out war and all that, but I just don't know where, how. Or maybe he's going to go back to Alexandria and they'll know, or he's going to encounter one of the other communities like the Kingdom or Hilltop. We don't know, but for sure I think there's definitely going to be a Heath episode. Because they haven't showed him where he is now, and I kind of doubt they're going to show him between the last 2 where he is, because they're not going to focus on him for these last 2 episodes for the mid-season finale. I think it's going to be more about the Saviors, and Negan, maybe more about the community and the Sanctuary, how Negan runs things. Probably the part where he finds Carl, Jesus knows where they are, he's going to go tell the Hilltop, and then once they know, then the Hilltop's going to tell Alexandria, and somehow Morgan or Carol will somehow meet up with one of them, and they'll say, there's a third kingdom. There's a third community, the Kingdom. And then they'll start planning things out. Negan's going to bring back Carl. Rick is going to get really pissed, almost to the edge, and then when he kills Spencer and all that, he's basically going to really tip Rick, where he's saying, okay, now that I know there's 2 more communities, I think we have a chance to fight. And then they're going to start planning the ideas for the all-out war. And then that's where we're going to get to the second half of the season, which is going to be the plans for the all-out war. I don't think it'll be the declaration of the all-out war just yet. I think it's just them planning. They're thinking about it, like all the groups. And around maybe the end, around the last episode of the season, it'll be the assassination attempt of Negan. Spoiler alert from the comics. I already spoiled it, but it's going to be an assassination attempt at Negan around the end. They're going to fail, and then, you know, Negan survives and escapes, and he's going to declare all-out war. And I think that's where the season's going to end. And then we're going to wait all the way till season 8 for the all-out war to start. The whole season 8 would just be all-out war, I think. Now, with all that being said, I think that group, because they never showed them in the comics or anything, I think that group might be, the importance of that episode is that, two things, either that group will help them supply with the artillery they need, or they're going to jump in the middle of the all-out war, surprisingly out of nowhere, and give the upper hand to Rick and the gang with Hilltop and the Kingdom. During the fight of all-out war, they'll probably know something. Maybe Cindy will find out from Tara that they're in a fight, they're in a war, they're winning, or they need help, and she'll convince probably the rest of the group to join in, and they're going to get this fourth smaller community to help out with them fighting against the Saviors, since, you know, they have a huge number, like an army. So I think that's what's going to happen with them, is my speculation. Either they're going to help them supply with the artillery somehow, or they're going to join in the fight during the all-out war fight. You know, they're going to be like a surprise visit. Boom, it's just them shooting, and then you're like, oh my god, it's that group from this episode. So, I think that's the importance, at least, in that group, is what I get through this episode. So, in the end, like I said, I think it was a necessary episode, because I think they're going to show them in the future, during the fight. Unless they're going to save them for way later, and then following arc, after Negan and all that, which is the Whisperers. But I still think that's way too early to show them. We're going to forget about them later. So I think they're going to show up probably during the fight of All Out War. That's what I'm speculating. So I think that's the hint I'm getting at for when this group got introduced. This fourth group that's not really mentioned or confirmed that is them in the comics. This other group that's also just been mentioned in the comics, the Oceanside. But if it's not them, then it's just some group that the show made up just to add in more numbers, you know? Like a whole group of numbers against Negan and the Saviors. But let's see, other than that, I mean, you know, Tara, I like Tara. She's a pretty cool character, you know? So one of that, you know, Tara's a pretty cool character and all that. One of the things that, well, there's a few things, but I guess I'll just name one. That caught me was kind of like, oh, come on. Okay, you know the sand walkers? All of them were covered in sand or whatever it was. And you see, you know, when you see that dreads were, where you think, oh my god, Heath has been turned to Walker. And I was thinking in my mind, wait a minute, they killed off Heath already? But, you know, when it revealed it's just a woman, you know, some other woman with dreads or whatever. And obviously it's not Heath, and then she runs away. Now, why is that one walker the only one not covered in all sand and dirt? Well, the rest of them are. Why is just that one walker all showing color and everything with her clothes and all that? Why? How? The only thing I could think of is she was in the car, one of the cars, the whole time, and suddenly just popped out. But I know that's just the show trying to give us a little scare, like saying, "Oh, he's probably dead," and then nope, no, he's not. But still, it doesn't make sense, or it felt off. I was just kind of like, but whatever. That's just one of those mini complaints. But yeah, so this is not really a long review compared to the rest, because there's not much to analyze and all that. Like I said, it's just its own. It was its own thing, this episode. Like I said, I think it could have been either a little bit faster paced, maybe focus the other half on Tara returning to Alexandria and maybe giving her everything, telling her everything, or how she's really feeling when she knows Denise's death and what happened there, and maybe not the 1/3 of that episode, at least something, but not the whole episode. It felt dragged. It really did, to be honest. I think they could have done it. They could have easily just explained everything in probably like in 30-40 minutes, not the whole hour. Okay, well, minus the commercials, I guess, 20 minutes, 20-something minutes, just to wrap up everything and all that. So yeah, I felt like this one was definitely a bit slow. Still not one of my favorites, but after thinking about it, it's not the worst out there for sure. And I actually thought it actually was necessary. After when I finished, I thought it was a complete waste of time. But when I thought about it, I was like, you know what? Actually, it is necessary. Now, if they never show this group at all again, which I highly doubt, I don't think The Walking Dead or Robert Kirkman and all the writers will do this, because it'll be a really stupid move. But if for some reason that group never shows up again anywhere in Negan's arc, or not even in the Whisperers arc, the one after them, then yes, this was a complete waste of an episode. I honestly would say that it was a complete waste. If they never show up. Quote unquote, if they never show up again. Now, if they show up in the Whisperers arc, I think it was way too early to introduce this group then. I think they could have waited way later or something. If they were going to introduce them like 2 or 3 seasons later. Or return, I mean. So, like I said, I hope they do the right thing. I hope they'll show up again either later on to provide Rick with the guns and artillery, or if they show up in the middle of All Out War for that extra helping hand for Rick and the gang. So, against Negan and whatever. So at least that's what I'm thinking. Or else, like I said, it would have truly been a waste of an episode. But I don't want to think that. I think it was necessary because they were going to show up later. So, yeah. And what else? So yeah, that's my speculation. I think overall this episode could have been done a little bit faster. They could have done a little bit more things with that. So it was just more, like I said, it just felt dragged. I was like, we got the point. Okay, this is the community. This is what happened. And so forth. But they just kind of dragged it more and more and more. Showing new characters, I guess. That's going to come up later. I guess especially Cindy. So I think she'll definitely show up later. For sure, I think. But I think, yeah, honestly, it could have been done. Probably at least half of the duration of the series. It really could have. But they just wanted to drag it out, I guess. Just to drag it out for the sake of just filling up the episode. Now, it's not a filler. I'm not saying it's a filler episode. Filler episodes mean it's not part of the story. It has nothing to do with the main story. It's like something completely separate. Meaning non-canon or, depending where you're watching. But basically a waste of an episode that had meaning. A filler episode means if you have not seen that episode and you watch the next one, you didn't miss much. You would still know everything that's happening. But I think this episode was necessary. It was necessary. I just wish they would have paced it a bit more. So, yeah, like I said, not really my favorites of this season so far. It's my least favorite. But it's not a waste of time either. It wasn't a waste of time. It wasn't a waste of an episode. It's telling us something for what's going to come to head. And that small group is going to show up later. Like I said, either to give artillery or to help during the fight of All Out War. So, like I said, probably the last 2 episodes will be about Carl, Negan explaining what they do in Sanctuary when he finds Carl. Jesus reporting back, to Hilltop. Probably, and I think I saw the preview, Rick and the gang are scavenging, and they'll probably have inner thoughts and all that, during that trip. And then probably Spencer's going to think about more about it, and I think he is going to betray Rick. I think this will happen probably in mid-season finale when he's going to try to tell Negan to kill Rick when Negan comes back to visit. And that's where Spencer's going to die. I'm pretty sure Spencer's going to die in the mid-season finale. I'm just going to say it right now. I think he is. He is going to die from Negan. So, and you'll see what I mean. If you have not read the comics, you'll see what I mean, though. So I think his death is about to come up soon. But yeah, I think that's what I'm speculating was going to happen throughout. So, next episode will probably be about Carl, the way Sanctuary is run when Negan shows him, or maybe Carl's just spying and Negan doesn't catch him until way later. Jesus reporting back, and Rick and the gang scavenging for Negan's next visit. That's pretty much going to cover that episode. And then the next one will be Negan's visit again, and Spencer's going to betray Rick. Negan kills Spencer. Rick's gonna get pissed, and when he brings Carl, he's gonna get even more triggered, per se. And yeah, and then he's gonna start thinking of retaliation, and somehow gonna think about the all-out war. Well, not claim it, but he's thinking about it. Not yet. Then the mid-season finale. No, I'm sorry, that was the mid-season finale idea. Then the second half will be a Heath episode, maybe. Later on, Rick will learn about the other community, the Kingdom, and the Hilltop will tell Rick at the location. And that's throughout that whole season, they're gonna start planning, have a chance, and then this is all planning of the assassination attempt of Negan. I think that's gonna be like the whole season. If they're gonna drag it out, I think that's like the whole season. Until the very end, when they do the assassination attempt, it failed. Negan's alive. He's gonna survive. He's gonna run away, and he's gonna declare an all-out war. And that's how season 8/7 is gonna end. That's what I'm calling it right now as we speak. So let's see if it comes true. Because originally I thought they were gonna go a bit quicker, but because of episodes like this that we just saw, it's gonna get dragged. So I think they're gonna drag this out until the end of season 7. So I don't think we're not gonna get all-out war to season 8 if they keep it that way. But yeah, I think that's all I gotta say. Honestly, I think that's pretty much covered here. I don't know of anything else that I'm missing out, anything important or analyzation that I missed out for this episode at least. But I think that's all I gotta say. That's all I can think of in the top of my head. So like I said, it's not a long review compared to the rest. There's not much to say. So yeah. So overall, the episode was meh, like barely generous, okay. But that's about it. But it wasn't a waste of time. It wasn't a waste of an episode. So yeah. But okay, that's all I gotta say then. So thank you guys for watching, and if you like my video, you know what to do. And as I always say to everyone here, I hope you guys have a nice day.